It's day 4 of our 7-day viral video challenge where we're working to share a life-saving, history-shaping, world-changing message so powerful that it can solve a global crisis. Today, we're exploring all the things that stop people from receiving the love that's all around them so they can get the help they need, overcoming their mental health challenges. Why that matters to you? Well, the same things that block them from receiving love are the same things that might block them from receiving your message. I'm Brandy M. Miller, your challenge organizer and the founder of Creating with Love, where our goal is to spread messages that fill people with love, hope, and joy through creative expression. If you are just joining this quest, stop the video now. Go back to day 1. You don't want to miss out. Day 1, we outlined the challenges, our strategy, and how to take the lead in your comments section so you don't sabotage your success before it has a chance to get started. Day 2, we chose our own global crisis to solve. Our connection to it, why we care that our viewers achieve success in solving their crisis, and how that helps us handle the fears, anxieties, and insecurities that might come up as we think about success. Day 3, we explored the research around the motivations for human behavior so we can leverage that to motivate people to participate with us in our challenge, and the price we must be prepared to pay if we're going to succeed. Once you're finished watching those, come back here and let's get started on the quest. Today's challenge. Because we've never gotten a video to go viral, let alone a whole series of videos, we don't know what to expect. We've talked about what can happen if we succeed in this challenge, the haters that might come after us, the comments that might make us angry or hurt us, and how to handle those. But what if we put in all this work to craft this message and it fails? What if nobody likes, comments, or subscribes to our channel? Will our friends and family laugh at us for thinking that we could do something so big when we're just one person? Will it still be worth doing if it's something every single person who's ever stepped out to create something brilliant that they hope can make an impact on the world finds themselves asking? Our obstacles and why those matter. The real obstacle here is confidence. We just don't know if we can do it or not because we've never done it. The confidence barrier is something we've got to get past if we're going to succeed. But here's something we've got to understand to get past that confidence barrier. Confidence that something can be done comes from witnessing others do it. You say to yourself, if they can do it, I can do it too. Confidence that we can do it is earned by doing it so many times, you no longer have room for doubt. We've seen other people build out viral video campaigns. We know it can be done, but we won't gain the confidence to know for sure that we can succeed until we start taking the steps required to actually do it. And that means being willing to risk failure. What inspired me to address this challenge? Growing up, I struggled with a fear of failure. Failure in school meant bad things for me at home. Success at school came relatively easy for me. I didn't have to work as hard as other kids did. When success in my adult life didn't come as easily, I thought it meant something was wrong. I quit trying the moment I hit failure and didn't really give myself a chance to succeed. It wasn't until a lot later in my late 30s that I realized I'd gotten everything wrong. Not failing in school wasn't a sign of being smart. It was a sign I wasn't being challenged enough. I wasn't being pushed to do things that required me to grow. It wasn't the failures themselves that were a problem. It was the story I told myself about what those failures meant that made all the difference. And that actually ties into what I discovered about why people are failing to get the love that's all around them, the kind of love they need to thrive and flourish. Why I care about your success? I don't succeed in doing what I want to do unless I help you succeed in doing what you want to do. I don't want you to give up on your mission or your message if you don't succeed straight out of the box. Success is a learning process, and failure is part of that learning process. You and I are learning together. The proposed solution? Every time you fail, look at your video channel's analytics and see what didn't work. Refine your methods and make improvements for the next one. Our selected strategy for implementation? Ask yourself, where did your viewers drop off? Where did they stop listening to you? What were you saying or doing when that happened? Little by little, step by step, you'll find the small changes that add up to big successes later, where my journey took me. Now back to my big reveal. I mentioned in day 2's video that at the age of 23, I nearly took my own life and my 3-year-old son's with me because I felt like I was drowning in an ocean of problems so big and so deep that there was no way out except death. Fast forward 20 years, and I wake up on a Saturday in March going, I have problems. And I'm thrilled to have them. Because God showed me in a dream that every problem I'd faced in the past and learned how to solve was profit for the present moment. And every problem I didn't yet know how to solve was profit for the future. And I was never going to run out of problems, but that was fantastic news because it also meant that I was never going to run out of potential for profit. The same thing that nearly led me to take my own life now excited and energized me, and nothing else in my life had changed. My bank account was still sitting on empty. I didn't have any additional titles or degrees or a better job or even own a house or a car. The only thing that changed was my perspective. But that one perspective shift changed everything for me and everything in my life from that point forward. For the first time, Romans 8:28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Didn't just sound like some meaningless platitude people say to make you feel better during tough times. It was tangible and real. What I've since discovered is that our minds are powered by a belief-based operating system that's made up of stories that we tell ourselves about who we are, what various things mean, how life is, and what's possible for us. Don't believe me? I completely understand. If you'd have told me that when I was younger, I would never have believed you either. But allow me to demonstrate. I want you to imagine that right now someone called you a zero. What would be your response to that? Would you believe it was an insult? Or would you see it as an affirmation? The answer to that question depends on what you believe zero means. If you think it's a nothing, a placeholder, or just an empty set, you're going to feel insulted because you think that that's what someone is saying you are. If, however, you do what I did and you take a closer look at what algebra tells us that zero really is, you might feel differently. You see, algebra tells us that zero is what you get when you add all the negatives, negative x, plus all the positives, x, together into one indivisible whole. Therefore, if someone's calling you a zero, what they're really saying is that you are the perfection of possibility. All possibilities exist within you because all possibilities exist within zero. The thing is, nobody but you can change the stories that are written in your own head. You're the only one who has access to them. And most of the time, these stories got written in your head so early, you don't even realize they're there. And your subconscious is using those stories to make decisions for you without you even being aware of it. Preparation for the journey ahead. The subconscious mind processes data at about 27,000 times the speed of the logical reasoning processing center of the brain. That means your emotions have already fired their shot and decided what you're going to do before logic and reason have a chance to reach for the trigger. This emotional decision-making machine is known as bias. It's made up of our beliefs, ideas, assumptions, and stories. That bias sets our expectations. It allows us to predict what's going to happen next so we can survive. After all, if a cheetah is running toward you full speed, you've got mere seconds to make a decision about what to do. And that decision can save or end your life. That cheetah could be coming toward you looking for pets and cuddles. But can you afford to take that risk? If you're wrong, you end up dead. So bias serves a purpose, but it can leave our lives a total wreck if we don't take control of that bias system and learn to recognize when it's leading us astray. That bias can also cause us to push away love or ignore it altogether because it doesn't meet our expectations. That bias system can also stop our message from being considered by our audience if we don't anticipate it and act accordingly. What the research shows us. The latest neuroscience shows that our bias system gets created from roughly conception through age 22. Then it's tested from roughly age 22 until age 27. Once it's set up and running, it operates quietly in the background without us even being aware of what's happening. And it filters out any information that can challenge it because it deems the system so important to our survival. The dangers of bias. Now I want to ask you a serious question. Would you put a 4-year-old child in charge of driving a car? No? Sounds insane? I agree. Yet that's exactly what most of us do with our lives. We don't realize we're doing it, of course, but we're allowing a wounded young child drive the car of our lives and make decisions about what kind of career we can have, what relationships we'll enter into, when, whether, and if we get married, when, whether, and if we have children, what relationships we'll build, how long we'll keep those, where we'll live, who we can trust, who we can't, what love is, and what it isn't. The end result, our lives end up looking like a wreck. Exactly the outcome you'd expect if you put a 4-year-old child in charge of driving your life. The bias can also cause us to push away love or ignore it altogether because it doesn't come packaged the way we expect it to. It's this bias system that I believe explains why the studies on religion and its relationship to mental health are a mixed bag of goods, with some people experiencing more depression when they practice religion devoutly than they do when they aren't. When the God you've been told is going to provide you with unconditional love does something that doesn't meet your expectations for how love should show up in your life, that can lead you to believe he doesn't really love you at all, or to doubt if he's even there. And if God, who's supposed to be perfect love, can't love you, what hope for love is there? But the expectations we hold are set by our bias system. And that bias system is set by past versions of you that were less mature, less experienced, with fewer resources at hand, and with less understanding of why people and God do the things they do. False expectations are the mother of all disappointments. A funny thing about our expectations, they're like taking the time to create this play, writing scripts for the players, assigning people to various roles in the play, but never asking the people if they want to be in this play in the first place, or bothering to hand them the script you've created for them. And then you get mad when the play you created in your mind doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to. It happens a lot, especially in our relationships with the people we love most. We expect people to behave in a certain way and then they don't. We get upset and hurt because of it. The problem often isn't their behavior. The problem is our expectations for their behavior. Let me give you a really good example. Let's say there are two good friends, Molly and Susan. Molly's walking down the street. She looks up and sees Susan about 20 feet away from her. She is thrilled to see her best friend. They haven't spoken in a couple of weeks because they've both been kind of busy. So she waves vigorously at Susan. But instead of responding and reacting with the same level of enthusiasm, Susan doesn't even seem to acknowledge Molly. She walks on by as if she hasn't even seen her. Now Molly's upset. She starts figuring out a story to tell herself about why Susan did this. What she comes up with is, Susan must still be upset about that $10 I owe her. I told her I'd pay her when I got paid. I just haven't gotten paid. Why is she so upset? Now Molly starts to get mad. The nerve of Susan. I thought she was my friend. Molly goes home angry. Susan, on the other hand, has no clue that any of this has happened because Susan happens to be nearsighted and forgot her glasses that day. She didn't even know it was Molly, let alone that Molly was waving at her. See how the expectations we have for how people should respond to our behavior can set us up for failure in relationships. Real fast, real easy. It's important to remember that every viewer comes to our videos bringing a combination of their own experiences, bringing a combination of their own expectations based on their past experiences, and the expectations we set for them in our first video in the series. We need to make sure that we address those expectations so we don't accidentally disappoint them, especially the expectations that we have personally set, making sure that we fulfill the promises we've made to them so we don't destroy the trust we're trying to build with them. And also recognize that those who express disappointment in the comments section are trying to tell us where the mismatch is between their expectations and what they got. Sometimes, let's put it this way, if we set the wrong expectations for our viewer, they may come into our videos expecting ice cream and we hand them mashed potatoes. Even if they love mashed potatoes, their initial reaction is going to be gross, I hate this, because that's not what their mouth is expecting. So it's really important that we set the correct expectations for what they're going to find in our videos from the moment we start and keep delivering on those expectations through every video in the series. And if we listen to what they have to say in the comment section, we can take action to ensure that the disappointment they express in that comment section isn't their final impression of our video series by recording videos to address the mismatch and clear up any miscommunications. Today's homework. This one's going to be a little longer than the others. There's a little more to it today. First, go back through the notes you took about which comments upset you and why. What mental stories were you telling yourself that led you to feel angry or upset? Second, what story could you tell yourself instead that would work for you instead of against you? Third, what do you want to change in your life as a result of participating in this viral video series challenge? Fourth, what do you believe is stopping you from changing that part of your life right now? Fifth, what would your life look like today if money weren't an issue and God were writing the checks? Sixth, think about your own journey to solving the crisis you chose in day one's video. What expectations did you have for that crisis before you figured out how to solve it? What expectations did you have for that crisis before you figured out how to solve it? 7, what did your experiences do to change those expectations? 8, what are some common things you hear people say about the crisis you chose that you know for a fact aren't true? Share your answers to questions 6 through 8 in the comments section below, so we can all learn from your experiences and grow. What's next? In the next video, we'll discuss more about where our expectations come from and how those can help or hinder our ability to receive love, and what knowing that is going to do to help you reset the expectations your viewers have so they don't discount the message you're trying to deliver to them before it has a chance to help them. While you're waiting, if you haven't already, go back and watch day 1, 2, and 3. You really don't want to miss any of this content. It all builds on the next. If you like this series and you want to help support the work we're doing, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you know when the next video drops, then share it out to anyone you think might benefit from what we've uncovered in our quest. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.